Right. It says nothing, my motion says nothing about the other three.
Okay. So the action is to prioritize Scout Lake as number one. And that is a motion. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second, with that understanding that the other ones are still,
Yeah.
they were just not putting the money at this point towards them.
Okay. Supervisor Colfax?
Mr. Chairman, I would take this opportunity to express my support for this. However, I would like to point out here that in the past, one of the reasons we have had problems in Mendocino County for the last 50 years is because the coastal supervisors have been overruled by 3 inland supervisors. However, that configuration plays itself out over time. Having reviewed what has happened in the coast over the last 6 or 8 months here on the board, I've observed that there have been 6 or 7 consecutive votes in which the 2 coastal supervisors have been outvoted on issues of interest to their districts, primarily. And in this case here, I think the inclination here to support this as a valuable and worthy project is something that should have and does have at least the support of this supervisor. I would only suggest here that in the future, there's a recognition that the supervisors who represent our coastal districts primarily be given the same kind of consideration, at least an understanding that we have an obligation to represent our constituencies as well. I have a feeling, I believe, that over the last year or so that we have moved in the direction here of dismissing those concerns and downplaying our role in having to represent all the people of Mendocino County to the best that we all can do. That has not been performance here. I will support this, enthusiastically support it, look forward to it going forward. But again, I would hope that in the future we see a recognition that the coast has its problems and its issues, and I would wish that we would have a third vote just every so often to make that a reality. Thank you.
Supervisor Pinches?
David, I got to respond to that a little bit. First of all, if it come to any water issue on the coast, any water supply issue, I would certainly be wholehearted to support that. Just last week, I basically held back on my private concerns and some of my constituents' concerns and supported your recommendation for a Fish and Game Commissioner. So I don't feel, just as much as I keep Covelo in mind with every decision make, I try to keep the whole county in mind.
And if I might throw my 2 cents in there, I believe there's a great number of decisions, certainly in the last year, certainly in the last 3.5 years that I've cited with the 2 coastal supervisors, at times over the objections of the other 2 supervisors. So I want to make that point. Also, in addition to water, certainly the greatest and most horrible mistake of the county of Mendocino was made over 50 years ago by 3 supervisors that had no input of improvement in their districts of water, and sold our river and our lake down the river. And so that was the most horrible mistake in the history of Mendocino County. So I'm pleased to hear the support from Supervisor Colfax in this regard. I hold water as big of a problem on the coast as I do inland, and when the opportunity comes up, they can count on my support to improve the water situation on the coast as much as I'm counting on their support for the inland water situation. So that is a promise from this supervisor. So there was...
And Mr. Chairman, without prolonging the conversation, I would agree with my 2 colleagues in the comments.
Okay. So there is a motion before us to prioritize Scout Lake as the number 1 priority. Did I hear a second? Do I hear a second?
You did.
I did. And my mistake, Supervisor Delbar was the second. To that item, further discussion.
To clarify that motion, that includes the part for the CEO's office to look into the feasibility funding, the $250,000 feasibility funding, and to make it the priority that they look at the raising of the existing lake.
Yes.
Over the other. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? Call for the vote on the action. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Passes unanimously, 5-0. Additional discussion action on the other 3 items? Is there any? Okay. Okay. We will move ahead. Other items of the water agency before us?
No, I think that will do it for today.
You're very wise in your years, Mr. Sanford.
Once again, Roland, this board's taken criticism, you've taken criticism for not moving the issue of water forward. And frankly, today, we've moved the water issues more forward in the last 100 days it's been in the last 30 years. And I appreciate that. And you can take a lot of credit for that.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, to the board, there are 2 timed items that we must take up before lunch. And in addition, I have 1 speaker card for public expression before we go to lunch. How about we modify our schedule a little bit to allow at least a decent amount of time for digestion? Once we complete these items, say we reconvene at 2 p.m., is that possible?
You're the boss.
Right, and come back to that, and then we're going to have to come back to finish the agenda. So, okay, let's take up, I lost track here.